In our previous video, we looked at a few different host applications, Studio One, Sonar, and Ableton Live, so we could learn how to use Addictive Drums 2 in those hosts. In this video, we'll see how to use it in Pro Tools, and we'll go a little deeper with multiple output routings and some other options. Let's take a look at Pro Tools. So I've got a Pro Tools session here, and I've got a groove put together. There's no drums yet. I just assembled a bass guitar and piano to a click track. Let's just check it out so you can hear it. Okay, that is clearly in need of some cool drums. So let's add Addictive Drums 2. In Pro Tools, to add an instrument track, we'll go to the Track menu, New. We'll make a stereo instrument track, and then click Create. Now in the Mix window, we can go to the Insert section, pick any insert, Multi-Channel Plugin, Instrument, and there's Addictive Drums 2. And it really works the same way as with other applications and as a standalone version. We can select our drum kit. I'm going to go to Funk because this is kind of a funky tune. And I can audition my sounds. And then I can start picking some beats. So I'll go to the beat page as I've done before. I'm going to look for some funk beats. I'll audition it. And if I want to, I can just give it a try. And just like the applications we were working with before, we can drag and drop. So just left click, hold your mouse down, and drag it in. I'm dragging into this Instrument 1 track where Addictive Drums 2 is loaded. Nice and simple. Pretty fun to play with. And if I want to add fills, I can do that as well. Put that in there. Kind of fun, isn't it? So all I have to do at this point is find the grooves that I like and start dropping them in to assemble my song in Pro Tools. I showed you an example of this before, but if I like this groove, I can use our friendly grid search to find similar grooves. And again, it's going to find patterns that match the groove I have selected. I'll get a little swingy there once the piano kicks in after my fill. Nice thing you can do in Pro Tools if you want to repeat a fill is rather than dragging it in, just hold Control or Command on your Mac, select the item you want to duplicate, and then Control or Command D. Pretty nice. Let's go back and take a listen and see what we've got so far. I'm kind of digging that. And remember one thing that we learned about before, we could take a sample of maybe a crash cymbal using the audio recorder. I want to throw a couple crashes in there, so let's do that. I'll go to my kit piece editor. And there's my WAV file. What I can do is just click and drag my WAV file wherever I want that to go. Maybe after another 4 bars, I'll do another cymbal. And then I can blend that in with the rest of the drums. Almost sounds like a real band, doesn't it? Pretty cool. So now that we've kind of covered how we can use Addictive Drums 2 in hosts, especially in this case Pro Tools, let's take a deeper look at how we can expand this. Now we've gotten familiar with the mixing section in Addictive Drums 2, and it's pretty powerful, especially when you start looking at the fact that you can add effects like EQ, compression, and you have reverb. You've got a lot of options right here to mix inside the box. However, a lot of engineers and producers like to split these out to individual tracks in Pro Tools rather than just receiving a single stereo mix in Pro Tools. if we look at the instrument track in Pro Tools for Addictive Drums 2, what we're getting is just a stereo track. And this is where we can use DirectOuts in Addictive Drums 2. We mentioned DirectOuts in our video about the mixing section, but now let's really put it to use. So here's our output assign, the little down arrow, and we can click it and choose Separate Out. Now I discovered a little trick. If you hold Alt down on your Windows machine or Option on your Mac, keep holding that button down, choose any kit piece, and click Separate Out. Check out what just happened. All of the kit pieces were assigned to Separate Out. Then I could individually do these. Saves a good handful of mouse clicks. Nice little time saver. Now all of these are routed to individual inputs in Pro Tools. If I start playing this again, you're not going to hear drums. Even though the MIDI beats I've dragged to Pro Tools are sending to Addictive Drums 2. So here's how we deal with that. I'll make individual audio tracks for each one of these. So I'll go back to the track menu in Pro Tools and I'll choose New. I have 10 mono kit pieces. And for overhead, room, and bus, I need 3 stereo inputs. And now I've added a bunch of tracks. I'm going to move Addictive Drums down here so I can expand my mixing window. If I go to Input on the first track, I can choose Plugin. I have Addictive Drums. There's Kick. Plugin, Addictive Drums, Snare. Plugin, Addictive Drums, Hi-Hat. And just keep on going right down the line. And there you go. So now Addictive Drums 2 is routing each of its kit pieces directly out and into these tracks. I could name these tracks to correspond. Say Audio 1, that's my kick, and so on. So I could rename them to match. And then what I want to do is input monitor these. I have Pro Tools HD, so I have this input monitor button. If you don't, you can just record and enable them. And now when I hit play in Pro Tools, I'm going to hear the drums through each of these individual inputs. Now, if I want to adjust levels, I'm going to be doing this here in Pro Tools. Pretty handy. And each one of these can have their own set of inserts within Pro Tools. Pro Tools 11 actually gives you 10 inserts. I have 5 showing here. And this allows me to use any of the plugins that I have in Pro Tools, in addition to what's already in Addictive Drum 2. If I want to use my BF76 for my kick drum, I can. Just like in Addictive Drums 2, you can use buses in Pro Tools as well. So if I choose that I want to use a reverb in Pro Tools and use it in a similar way that I use the bus in Addictive Drums 2, I can do that just by going to Sends. And I have Sends A in Pro Tools set to Expanded Sends. If I hold Alt on my Windows machine or Option on my Mac, I can just hold that down. I'll assign that to a bus in Pro Tools. And now all of these are set up to go to this bus. I'll make a new aux input. And here's my new aux track. I'll make its input bus 1. I'll add maybe the air spring reverb. Bring that over so you can see it. And now as I play, I can start sending my drums over to this spring reverb within Pro Tools. Now, if you don't want a spring reverb, you can use deverb or whatever you want, but you can see how using these individual outputs on Addictive Drum 2 can really give you a lot of power in Pro Tools. And once you've got these things the way you like them, you can actually record all of these tracks from Addictive Drums. So all we have to do is arm each of these tracks and roll and record. And now that I've got these recorded as audio tracks, I can do even more with things like inserts. I can tweak my send still because those didn't get recorded. That's on my aux track. And you've got a lot more flexibility and power in addition to all of the power and flexibility you already have in Addictive Drums 2. And this method of DirectOuts isn't exclusive to Pro Tools. Of course, you can use it in just about any other host application by using the same technique. And that concludes our series on Addictive Drums 2. I hope you have a lot of fun playing with Addictive Drums 2 and using all of the really cool features as well as what it can do with your recording application. Thanks for watching.